Galactic Gathering. In the glimmering heart of the celestial citadel, a great domed hall hummed with activity as delegates from 100 alien races took their seats for the historic Galactic Unity Summit. Murmurs of a dozen dialects echoed beneath the stars projected across the arched ceiling. Gax, an arthropod Zalatian diplomat, fidgeted on his cushioned pedestal. His stalked eyes swiveled to observe a peculiar sight entering the hall. A small delegation of humans, the galaxy's brash new upstarts. The furless bipeds stood out among the tentacles, exoskeletons, and shimmering energy fields of the other races. Deathworlders. Gax clicked to his seatmate, a gelatinous blobuloid. I hear just breathing their planet's air is toxic to most species. The blobuloid shuddered, its surface rippling anxiously. I don't like it. Bad enough they uplifted themselves with that so-called science of theirs. Now they presume to meddle in galactic affairs. After the Orion incident, I thought the Council would ban them. Gax waved a feathery appendage. The humans have powerful friends now. They say the Alacarians are practically selling them planet-cracking bombs. Maxillans too. Something about exclusive trading rights for coffee and chocolate. A chime sounded, and 1,000 eyes and eye stalks turned towards the podium where Zod, the wizened keeper of galactic peace, raised his ceremonial staff. Honored delegates, Zod intoned, today we gather, for the first time in an eon, to usher in a new era of unity, prosperity, and, as the keeper droned on, few noticed a shadowed alcove where two figures huddled in tense conversation. Is it done? Hissed a gray-cowled Genarian. The other, a burly Fomaruk mercenary, tapped a metal case. The devices are planted. The humans will be blamed. Chaos will reign. The third eye blinked open in the center of the Genarian's forehead. Good. The Galactic Council will finally learn the price of allowing those mammalian devils free rein. Today is just the beginning. As the conspirators slipped away unnoticed, Captain Nora Hawkins of Earth's Galactic Diplomatic Corps shifted in her seat, an uneasy feeling prickling her neck. She leaned towards her partner, a lanky lieutenant named Cal Rovis. I've got a bad feeling about this. Rovis flashed her a wry grin. 100 touchy aliens in one room deciding the fate of the galaxy. What could go wrong? Nora shook her head as the Keeper's speech built to a crescendo. She knew firsthand the galactic community's simmering resentment towards upstart humanity. The miraculous discovery of faster-than-light travel unlocked the galaxy to humankind, and in turn introduced humans as a wild card to a millennia-old interstellar balance of power. She just hoped human tenacity and resourcefulness would be enough to navigate the treacherous currents of galactic diplomacy. Humanity's future among the stars might depend on it. Little did Nora know that tenacity would soon be put to the ultimate test as hidden forces conspired to paint targets on every human back. Diplomatic discord. No sooner had the Galactic Unity Summit commenced than long-standing rivalries and tensions bubbled to the surface. Old foes exchanged barbs, and newcomers like the humans became targets of suspicion and resentment. In the Grand Forum, Ambassador Xyloth of the Krototh hegemony pounded a pseudopod on his cracked glass podium. The hegemony will never give up its rightful claims in the Betelgeuse sector. Any encroachment will be met with swift retribution. Across the forum, cybernetic eyepieces flashed as Prime Minister Karlax of the Mechanoid Collective registered the threat. Betelgeuse is a vital node in our Blink portal network. We will defend it at any cost. Similar squabbles erupted across the cavernous chamber, border disputes, ancient slights, and trade route rivalries all clashing in a cacophonous battle. Nora gripped the human delegation's table, knuckles white, as speaker after speaker took thinly veiled jabs at Earth's perceived arrogance and unchecked ambitions. A throaty warble silenced the din as Councillor Voske of Sirius Theta approached the main podium, his frilled throat pulsing crimson. Need I remind you all, he gurgled, frog eyes scouring the assembly, that the Council grants safe passage through Betelgeuse space. The Krototh ambassador's eye spots flared. And what of humanity's illegal colonies on our frontier? When will this body censure the Earthling infestation? Before Nora could voice a sharp rebuttal, the summit chamber exploded into chaos. A blinding pulse of plasma fire eviscerated the Syrian podium. Screams erupted as more energy beams sliced the air, panicked bodies diving for cover. Ears ringing, Nora staggered to her feet amidst choking smoke and frenzied shouts. A Krotov corpse lay sizzling nearby, still clutching a plasma pistol, shot in the back by a human-made pulse rifle. It was them, shrieked a Genarian, thrusting an accusing talon at the human delegation. The Earthers murdered the counselor. Assassins. No, Nora cried, but the damage was done. Pandemonium reigned as security forces swarmed in, stun blasts flying. She glimpsed Cal overturning their table for cover, shouting into his wrist comm. More blasts seared overhead as someone dragged Nora to the floor. Smoke burned her lungs. This way. A strange voice hissed in oddly accented English. Blinking through tears, Nora beheld an unfamiliar alien beckoning from a shimmering portal, a pirate point gate, a highly illegal smuggler's bypass through space-time. Cal joined her, firing back at their unseen attackers. We have to go. Now. Nora's head spun, reeling at the sudden upheaval of a promising summit. The future looked bleak for Earth. But Cal was right. To help her people, to uncover this plot, she had to survive. With a final glance at the chaos consuming the forum, Nora plunged through the portal. And a galactic unknown beyond. Unlikely alliances. The portal spat Nora and Cal into the inky void of deep space, where a sleek ship of exotic design shimmered into view. A traction beam dragged them aboard as alarms blared. Nora barely had time to register the hodgepodge of aliens assembled on the bridge before their rescuer, a lanky Saurian named Zix, rounded on them. You humans must truly have a death wish, Zix growled, forked tongue flicking. First you crash our happy little galactic shell game. Now you blast your way out of a peace summit with a body count. Cal bristled. It's not what it looks like. We were set up. Of course you were, purred a sultry voice. Cressida Vell, an Asari information broker draped across the helm console, fixed them with a knowing look. That little circus had inside job written all over it in glowing neon, Harfathian snot runes. Nora locked eyes with Zix. We just want to get to the bottom of this. Find out who's pulling strings behind this. And make things right, is that it? A gravelly voice scoffed. Gruck, a battle-scarred Falmarok mercenary, emerged from the shadows hefting a menacing rifle. Hate to burst your squishy pink bubble, but one plucky human with a hero complex ain't going to put the genie back in the bottle. Galaxy's a cold, hard place, but not without opportunities, Zix mused, tapping a datapad. Word is a Genarian agitator named Sol Thak was spotted at Zejma Beach, an anarchy resort in the Hades Nexus. If anyone knows what really happened at that summit, it'll be the Zejma rats. Nora set her jaw. These rogues cared nothing for peace in the galaxy, but right now, they might be humanity's only shot. We need to get to Zejma Beach. Cressida's eyes sparkled with mischief. Things are about to get a whole lot more fun. The voyage through slip space was a tense affair. Gruck drilled Nora and Cal on crucial combat skills in the cramped cargo hold, while Cressida coached them on Zejma's CD protocols. But mistrust hung thick in the recycled air. These aliens had their own agendas. Doubts gnawed at Nora. Were they really doing the right thing, diving headlong into the galactic underworld? What if they were being played even now? She pushed the thoughts aside. This was no time for second-guessing. At last, the ship dropped out of slip space at the fringes of the Hades Nexus. A seething knot of ships and structures loomed ahead, a floating hive of villainy and vice against a hellish netherscape of swirling nebulas. Zejma Beach, Zix announced with a savage grin. Where the drinks are cheap, life is cheaper, and if someone stabs you in the back, that's just foreplay. As they docked at a grimy harbor bristling with gun turrets, raucous music, and strobing red lights. Nora sucked in a steadying breath. Time to play a dangerous game. Somewhere in this labyrinthine den of sin lurked a Genarian mastermind with answers to the galaxy's most urgent questions. Answers they'd extract, one way or another. Ingenuity under fire. The neon-drenched streets of Zejma Beach assaulted the senses, a parade of chrome, chitin, and slick scales soused in synth liquor and stale starship fuel. Cal tugged a hood over his head to avoid gawking stares. Rare were humans in this galactic gutter. Quaint, Gruck grunted, kicking aside a spice-dazed Grolbonian in their path. They wove through dingy alleys to a seedy bar, the Supernova Lounge. Zix jabbed a thumb claw at the entrance, low profile. Zolthak's favorite watering hole. Play it cool and let Cressida do the talking. Inside the bar, a live band jammed a hypnotic fusion of jazz and Zorletian death metal. Cressida slinked ahead, her pheromones parting the crowd like a biochemical sea. At the bar, she slipped the insectoid bartender a cred chip and murmured in his ear spiracle. His antennae twitched towards a shadowy booth in back. The team slid into the booth where a hooded figure hunched over a fizzing drink. Slowly, Zolthak looked up, his third eye glinting sly recognition. "New friends of yours, Cressida dear. My. Quite the entourage. Cut the crap. Solly," Cressida purred. "A little bird told me you might know something about that unpleasantness at the summit. Care to share with the class?" Zolthak swirled his drink. And why should Zolthak betray his benefactor's confidence? What's in it for old Solly? Under the table, Nora thumbed off the safety on her pulse pistol. Cal's foot tapped hers in warning. "Play it cool." "Oh, I'd say the gratitude of Earth's diplomatic corps is worth something." Nora leaned in with a razor smile. "After all, I'd hate to see this fine establishment raided by the Galactic Revenue Service. Rumor has it they take a dim view of Genarian spice smuggling." Zolthak's jaw mandibles clacked in a dry chuckle. "Well played, pink skin. It seems you humans learn quickly." Draining his glass, the Genarian produced a data chit. "The Falmarock brothers. Nasty bunch. They're the ones your shooter got his rifle from. You'll find them at these coordinates." Suddenly, the bar door burst open, and a dozen Krototh mercenaries stormed in, plasma cutlasses crackling. Death to the human scum. All hell broke loose. Patrons dove for cover as Gruck and Cal upended the table, laying down suppressing fire. Zix and Cressida whipped out holdout blasters to join the fray. Nora lunged to snatch the data chit from Zolthak, but the wily Genarian had already vanished in the chaos. "Fall back." Nora roared over the din. Plasma bolts sizzled the air as the team blasted a path to the rear exit. They burst into the alley, only to stop short at the sight of a Krototh skiff hovering overhead, missile rack glowing ominous red. "We're trapped," Gruck snarled, but Cal's eyes lit with inspiration. He aimed his rifle at a rusted fire suppression pipe snaking overhead and pulled the trigger. The pipe burst in a geyser of frigid foam, engulfing the Krotoths and shorting out their weapons. "The skiff," Nora shouted. "It's our only way out." Pulse vaulting onto the roof, she dispatched the sputtering pilot with a well-placed chop to his gill slit and leaped into the cockpit. The others piled aboard as heavy footfalls thundered below. The skiff lurched into the air, Nora fighting the unfamiliar controls. They blasted free of Zejma's gravitational miasma, weaving through a gauntlet of small craft fire, and soared into the inky gulf of space. Only then did Nora allow herself a shaky laugh. That maneuver in the alley, improvising an instant cryofoam cannon, was pure human ingenuity in action. But their relief proved short-lived. Staring at the navcomp where she'd inserted Zolthak's data chit, Nora felt an icy dread settle in her gut. A holomap blinked over the console, revealing the coordinates for a distant death world. Gruck spat a curse. "Kilios Beta. Nastiest sinkhole in the galaxy. Whatever the Falmarock brothers are doing there, it can't be good." The turning point. The stealth approach to Helios Beta was nerve-wracking. Nora white-knuckled the controls of the stolen skiff, veering through jagged ravines and sulfurous fissures as they skimmed the surface of the deadly planet. A lethal cocktail of atmospheric poisons and feral native life forms made Helios Beta a popular spot for pirates and gunrunners, the kind of scum whose lairs they now sought. Zix tapped the plexiglass. Flinty eyes narrowed at a camouflage bunker hove into view ahead. There, Fomarok Brothers Central. Cloaking fields down. Means they're expecting us. Cal checked his rifle, jaw set. Zix, Gruck, work your way around back, quietly. Cressida and I will take point for Nora. Gruck clamped a meaty hand on Cal's shoulder. Good luck. Pink skin. Remember what I taught you. And tell your mate. She's not my. Tell her, give 'em hell. With that, the towering Fomarok vanished into the magma-lit gloom with Zix, leaving Cal to ponder that unexpected benediction. But there was no time to dwell. He followed Nora and Cressida to the bunker's plasma-scored blast door, pulse pounding in his ears. Inside, banks of stolen tech blinked and hummed. Decryption modules, signal jammers, nanoforges. But the atrium was empty, the air charged with a too-quiet tension. Nora gestured at the far door. Beyond lay their target, a trove of dirty secrets and backdoor dealings that could blow this conspiracy wide open. If they could. Nora gestured at the far door. Beyond lay their target, a trove of dirty secrets and backdoor dealings that could blow this conspiracy wide open. If they could just retrieve that data. Suddenly, a guttural war cry shattered the tense silence. Cal shoved Nora aside as a plasma bolt seared through the space she'd just occupied. The towering forms of the Fomarok brothers emerged from the shadows, eyes glinting with malice. Did you really think it would be that easy? The leader sneered, leveling his rifle. All hell broke loose. Cal and Nora dove for cover amidst a hail of plasma fire, while Cressida loosed an incapacitating burst of pheromones. But the brothers had come prepared with filtration masks. Cal gritted his teeth, pulse rifle bucking in his hands as he laid down suppressing fire. They were outgunned and outflanked. It was only a matter of time. A sudden rumble shook the bunker. The brothers paused, confusion flickering across bestial faces. With a tremendous roar, the rear wall exploded inward, admitting a furious Gruck riding the hijacked power loader, Zix clinging to the cockpit with a savage grin. Get to the data core. Gruck bellowed, swinging the loader's arms like wrecking balls. We'll hold them off. Nora and Cal seized their chance. They sprinted for the far door, pulse pistols spitting fire as the Fomarok brothers rallied with an enraged howl. Cressida flowed behind them like quicksilver, a goddess of death dancing between plasma bolts. At last they burst into the inner sanctum, a cavernous chamber housing a pulsing tangle of quantum computers. Cal locked the door and melted the controls with a precise plasma burst. Hurry, he urged Nora, taking up position by the sparking door as dull thuds reverberated from the other side. Find the files. Fingers flying across the console keys, Nora scoured the encrypted directories with skills honed by a misspent youth in Earth's digital underworld. At last, a folder winked open, spilling its secrets across the screen. Her eyes widened. Cal, this is bigger than we ever imagined. The summit bombing was just the start. They're planning. A tremendous explosion rocked the bunker, throwing Nora to the floor. Cal rushed to her side as the far wall shattered, admitting a groaning Gruck and Zix, the power loader a smoking ruin behind them. They've breached the outer doors. Cressida cried, sealing the inner door behind her. Cal helped Nora up, mind racing. They were trapped. It would only be moments before the Fomarok brothers burned through. He met Nora's gaze, saw the same knowledge in her eyes. But alongside that dread knowledge, he saw something else. A steel resolve, that uniquely human tenacity that had brought their species from their humble birthworld to the galactic stage. In that moment, he knew she would never give up, and neither could he. "The atmospheric scrubbers," he said, pointing to the row of ventilation machines along the wall. "If we overload them with plasma." Understanding dawned in Nora's eyes. It was a desperate gamble, if they timed it wrong. But they were out of options, and this data could not fall into enemy hands. Together, they rushed to the scrubbers, jury-rigging a plasma feedback loop as Kruk and Zix braced the shuddering door. The machines began to whine, their casings glowing ominous red. "Get to the ships," Nora roared, slamming a final key to initiate the overload sequence. A klaxon blared as the team sprinted for the secret hangar access revealed in the data files. They burst from the hangar in a stolen Fomarock shuttle, just as a corona of blinding plasma erupted from the bunker's heart, engulfing the enraged brothers in an inferno of their own making. The shockwave buffeted the tiny craft as Zix wrestled with the controls, finally breaking free of the planet's grasp. In the shuttle's cramped hold, Nora and Cal shared a look of weary triumph. They had the evidence. Now they just had to get it into the right hands, and avoid being blown out of the stars in the meantime. A new era. Nora's finger hovered over the transmit key, the innocuous little button that would broadcast the conspiracy files to every corner of the galaxy. She hesitated, sudden doubts swirling in her mind. Would this really change anything? The vested interests, the ancient hatreds and distrusts. Could a few terabytes of dirty secrets sweep them all away? She thought of the horrors they'd witnessed on Kelia's Beta, the rot at the galaxy's heart, the slow unraveling of this sinister plot that framed humanity for war crimes, manipulated whole species as pawns in a shadowy long game. If the Fomarock brothers and their masters succeeded, Earth and all its innocence would burn. No, she couldn't let indecision paralyze her. Not now, with the endgame in sight. She had to trust that the truth would set them free. She pressed the button. Instantly, the shuttle's comm channels lit up like Nora's Day fireworks. Cal, monitoring the chatter, let out a low whistle. It's everywhere. Galnet, subspace relay, even the old Tachyon post. The Syrian ambassador's comms, the Gynarian defense plans, shipping manifests for illegal Fomarock arms. It's all out there. A light on the console flashed red. Cressida cursed. "Incoming. Half the bounty hunters in the sector, looks like." Gruk checked his rifle with a grim smile. "Always hoped I'd go out in a blaze of glory." Cal and Nora's eyes met. No words were needed. As one, they took the controls from Zix, hands moving in perfect unison across the console. Time to put all that simulated dogfight training to use. The shuttle wove and juked through a storm of missile fire and magnetically accelerated rounds, desperately trying to break free of the ambush. But there were too many. Shields buckling, hull shuddering with each new impact, the end seemed nigh. Suddenly, space lit up like a newborn star. A tremendous salvo of plasma beams lanced out from behind, slagging the bounty hunters' ships into molten ruin. "Cavalry's here," Cal crowed. A flotilla of Earth ships dropped out of slip space, transponders blazing. At their heart, the sleek dart of Nora's diplomatic corvette, the Peacemaker. Its batteries erupted again, scattering the surviving hunters like minnows before a shark. "Looks like your people got our message," Zix said, something like respect coloring his voice. The Peacemaker's captain, a grizzled veteran named Hollis, hailed them on a priority channel. His face, lined with exogravic stress, split into a relieved grin at the sight of Nora. "Ambassador. Damn, but it's good to see you in one piece. When we picked up that broadcast, I've never seen anything like it. The whole galaxy's in an uproar. The councils recalled the fleet to the Citadel. It's chaos out here." Nora felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They'd done it. The seeds of truth had been planted. What fruit they bore? Well, that was up to the galaxy now. "Bring us in, Captain. We have quite the story to tell." In the weeks and months that followed, the shockwaves of that story reshaped the galactic landscape. Disgraced conspirators faced trial. while reform-minded leaders seized the opportunity to clean house and enact change. A new galactic council formed, its membership reflecting a fresh array of species and voices, and at that council's heart, serving as a bridge between the many disparate cultures and agendas, were the humans, no longer the galaxy's impetuous new kids, but seasoned mediators and problem-solvers. Oh, there were bumps in the road, to be sure. More than a few resentful factions muttered about Earth overstepping its bounds. But no one could deny the incontrovertible truth. When crisis struck, it was human ingenuity, tenacity, and sheer determination that had saved the day. For Nora and her team, life settled into a new routine of diplomacy and troubleshooting, albeit a routine spiced with the occasional bit of welcome daring-do. Cull took a post as Nora's head of security, an arrangement that suited them both just fine. Zix and Gruck opened a security consultancy that may or may not have been a front for Robin Hood-esque vigilantism. And Cressida, well, tracking her exploits would require an entire story of its own. Through it all, Earth and its people stood tall. They had stared into the abyss of extinction and, with wit and verve and raw determination, fought their way to a new dawn. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, Nora thought with a smile, was just fine by humanity. The Deathworlders had arrived.